Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to lecture number 8 of irrigation engineering. So far we have covered our three chapters. The first chapter was about introduction to water resources. In second chapter, the basic designing terminologies in irrigation engineering was discussed, and we come up with the gross irrigation requirement. Then in chapter number 3 we have covered the design of irrigation canal. So up to here we come up with the conclusion that we will have some specific water resource. Either it will be a natural river or stream or lake, or it will be a reservoir. Okay, so that will be the point of availability of water. Okay, second one, we will have the area, we will have the agricultural land where we have to apply the water for agricultural purposes. So that will be the point of utilization. Okay, so first we will have to look into our availability, that how much water is available, what is the condition of the resource, what is the type of the resource, what is the quantification of resource. Secondly, we will know about our requirement, that how much area we have to irrigate, how much irrigation water is required, what is our gross irrigation requirement. So for that purposes we will have to design a conveyance system, we will have to design a transportation system, we will have to design some carrying system, so that the water may be supplied from the point of availability and to the point of utilization. Okay, so that is the conclusion until now which we have covered in this course. Okay, now in this lecture we will discuss the hydraulic structures. See, just only by sampling, by construction of the irrigation canal, the proper amount of water will be not effectively and efficiently transported. Okay, so for that purposes some additional, some secondary structures are required. See, canal is the primary structure for the transportation of irrigation water. Now see how the specific amount of water will be properly diverted into the irrigation canal. So for that purposes here we will have to construct some diversion structure. For example, weir or barrage or dam will be constructed, so that the water level at the upstream side may be raised and it may be safely diverted into the irrigation canal. Okay, secondly, we have also required some structures at the head of the canal, so that the required amount of water may be properly entered into the canal without any damage or without any cells. Also, for example, if we are interested to find out that what is the discharge at this point, so some telemetry structures will be required. Okay, also if we are interested to monitor the flow, so some monitoring and regulating structures will be required. Okay, and for example, if we are taking out sub main canals from this main canal, or if we are taking out some distributary, so again here some outlet point will be required. Okay, so for that purposes we will have also to study some other hydraulic structures. So we can say that those structures through which water is directed, water is controlled, water is monitored, water is regulated or measured, that are called the hydraulic structures. Okay, and remember that hydraulic structures are those hydraulic structures that will be either completely submerged in water body, or they will be partially submerged in water body. See, we have discussed the concept of the weir and barrage. So weir is just a barrier across the river. Okay, so it just raise the water level at the upstream side, and then the extra water are overflowing on the barrier. So here we can say that the weir is a completely submerged hydraulic structure. Okay, similarly if we construct a barrage, then the lower portion of the barrage will be submerged in the water, and the upper portion, the gated portion, will be not submerged. So we will say that that is a partially submerged. So generally we can say that any submerged or partially submerged structure which is used for the direction, controlling, monitoring, regulating and measurements of water are called the hydraulic structures. Okay, and actually that hydraulic structures are just diverting or disrupting or completely stopping the flow in its natural direction. Okay, hydraulic structure may also be used to measure the flow of water. Okay, so we will discuss the different hydraulic structures in this lectures. I mean, just up to the introductory level we will just discuss, we will just introduce, okay, that what are the different hydraulic structures and what are the basic purpose, basic function or basic uses of that hydraulic structures. Now see, canal headworks. These are just the some special types of the hydraulic structures, we can say that. Okay, see, canal headworks, for example, if this is a natural river or natural stream or natural lake, suppose at this point we have to take out a canal, we have to construct a canal. So this point is called the head point, the canal head point. This is called the off-taking point of the canal. This is the starting point of the canal. Okay, now see how the water will be effectively and efficiently diverted into the canal from its natural path. So obviously we will have to construct here some dam structure or weir structure or barrage structure. Okay, so that hydraulic structure which is constructed at the head of the canal, that is called the canal headworks. Okay, that is a term which is used for any structure at the head or divergent point of a waterway. Okay, any structure, any work constructed across the river which supply the water to the uptaking canal, that is called the canal headworks. Okay, so we will discuss the canal headworks. We have two types: storage headworks, divergent headworks. Then we have temporary divergent headworks, permanent divergent headworks. Okay, so we will discuss. And then see, weir is one of the permanent divergent canal headworks. Okay, so then we will just individually we will discuss one by one. See, weir is just a small barrier which is built across a stream or river to raise the water level at the upstream side. Okay, slightly, and then due to that rising in the water level, that is diverted from its natural path into the artificial canal. Okay, so that will be our lecture outlines. Now see, the hydraulic structures. So hydraulic structure, that is a general term. Okay, the structures through which water is directed, controlled, monitored and regulated. Okay, or measured. So that structures will be called the hydraulic structure. We generally can say that in irrigation engineering, okay, in irrigation engineering, any structures which we are constructing for the effective and efficient transportation of water from the point of utilization and to the point of application, okay, that structures which are supplying the water, that will be called the hydraulic structure. So canal, we can say that different outlets, different measuring structures, different controlling structures, okay, different divergent structures, these are considered as the hydraulic structures. So see, the first one, hydraulic structure, that are called the divergent structures. So divergent structures are used to separate or part of the flow in a stream to a location where it will be used or stored. Okay, so see, already we have discussed that. For example, that is the water source, and here we have some point of utilization where we have to use the water. Okay, so suppose here we have to store the water, so then we will have to divert that amount of water. Remember, that will be our requirement which we have to store here, which we have to apply here. So this amount of water, this part of water will be separated from this natural source. Now how this part will be separated? So here some structures will be required to construct. Their structures will be called the divergent structures. Okay, again, divergent structures will be either temporary structures or permanent structures. For example, if in a natural river, suppose the water supply is highly irregular. Okay, for example, if the flood occurrence chances is high, then suppose if we construct a permanent structures, then it will be damaged. Okay, and it will be a big loss. Okay, so for example, in those rivers where there is high irregularities, yeah, if there is high chances of the flood occurrence, then we are just constructing a temporary structures. Okay, so if that structures are damaged by the flood, then it can be easily reconstructed, then it can be easily reinstalled as compared to the permanent structures. Okay, so the divergent structures may be permanent or temporary, and it is just used for the separation or for just departing some flow up from the natural stream. Okay, just diverting the water. See, diversion of the main course of water. Generally also we can say that diverting the water from its natural flow path into some artificial canal or some artificial structures. So the structure which is required for their diversion, that will be called the divergent structures. Okay, see, one of the example of the divergent structure is the copper dam. Okay, see here you can see that this structure that is called as a copper dam. See, that is just diverting the water, that is just disturbing the flow of water. Okay, so here this structure is just constructed, then the water is dewatered from the area and a dry environment is created. See, for example, if you are constructing if you are doing some structures inside the water body, then some portion of the water will be we can say that will be some dry environment will be created for the construction purposes. Okay, so this temporary barriers are installed and the water path is disturbed. Yeah, the water path is diverted. Okay, and the water from this portion is dewatered, and see here a dry environment will be created. So we can say that that is a structure that retain water, okay, and soil, that allows the enclosed area to be pumped and excavated out, and a dry environment will be created. Okay, yeah, we can say that a copper dam is commonly used for construction of bridge, pier and other support structure built within water. A copper dam is just defined as a temporary barrier. Okay, is a temporary barrier in or around water body, which allow the process of dewatering, yeah, the process of diversion. Okay, and the main purpose of the copper dam is just to create a dry work environment. Okay, yeah, also here you can see that, for example, if you have a natural river or if you have a natural stream, and for example here you are performing some construction work. Okay, for example here you are constructing some structures or you are performing some works, then see the water will be diverted from its natural path into some other path, and then it will be rediverted into its original path. Okay, so here the temporary barrier which you are constructing, that is called the copper dam. Okay, similarly, see weir. If that is, for example, a natural stream, and here you have to take out some type of canal. Okay, so then here this structure will be constructed. Again, weir is a small barrier which is built across a stream, yeah, which is built across a river to raise the water level slightly. Okay, so at the upstream side the water level will be raised slightly. Okay, and see a type of small dam will be created, and weirs allow water to pool behind them. Okay, so when the water level is raised, yeah, when the water is pooled behind this barrier, then that water will be we can say that diverted into this structure, and the extra water will be overflowing on this weir. Okay, so that is a type of submerged hydraulic structure. Okay, so the main purpose of it is just to raise the water level at the upstream side, and due to that raising level the water will be diverted into the artificial canal. Okay, similarly here you can also see that, for example, if that is a natural river, so here you can construct a barrier, here you can construct a weir. So due to this construction of barrier, the water level at this upstream side will be raised and it will be diverted into this irrigation canal. Okay, so then it will be considered as a divergent structure, and here we will have to install another structure that is called the canal headwork structure. Yeah, that will be the canal regulator structure, that will be the canal measuring structures. Okay, that the water will be properly, the right amount of water will be entered into the canal. Okay, So Copernicum, weirs, canal headworks, these are the divergent structures. Okay, here one thing more, see, for example, if that is a natural river, and suppose here you are taking a canal from the natural stream or from the natural river. Okay, so we can say that that is the natural flowing path of water. So here we will construct just a divergent structure. Okay, just a barrage or weir or small dam will be constructed. So the water level will be raised at this upstream side and some water will be pooled at this area. Okay, so due to this upstream rising up level, the water will be diverted. Yeah, the natural flow path of the water will be diverted into this artificial canal. Now at this entry point, at this initial point, at this head point of the canal, such type of regulator are constructed. Now see, what is the main function of this regulator? See, it regulates the supply of water entering the canal. Okay, they see, when we are constructing an irrigation canal, so it has some specific maximum supplying capacity. Okay, so when we construct this canal regulator, so it will regulate the entry of water into the canal. Okay, for example, a flood is a flood occurred in the natural river, and suppose if you have not constructed this regulator, then that flooded water will be entered into the canal, and there is possibility that the water which is entering into the canal, there is possibility that it may be that discharge may be greater than the maximum carrying capacity of the canal. So the structure of the canal will be badly affected. So for that purposes, to control, to prevent the river flood entry into the canal, these regulators are constructed. See, these regulators are just, see, the cross sections are just divided into these 4 parts. Okay, and it has some constant area, and these parts are called, these are called the spans. Okay, or these are also called bays. Okay, mean the whole cross section, we can say that the whole cross section is divided into a number of piers, which divide the total width of a canal into a number of spans or a number of bays. Now see, each canal has a constant, some constant area. So for example, if flood is occurred in the natural river, then how much water will be entered? Okay, that amount of water will be entered which can pass through these spans, and see the capacity, yeah, the amount of water entering through these spans will be equal to, or should be equal to, the maximum carrying capacity of the canal. Okay, so if you have provided these regulator, then the supply of water entering into the canal may be properly regulated, mean no extra amount of water will be entered, because there will be no space for entry of extra water. And also a little bit here, water is we can say that the water velocity is reduced, so the salts will be also gets deposited in the pockets. Okay, and only the clear water will be entered in the regulators. Okay, so here just also you can install different gates. Okay, for example, if gates are installed there, so what will happen? For example, if in one season less discharge is required, then you can also control the flow. Okay, for example, in one season, suppose the demand is more, so you can open the gates. And for example, in one season the water requirement is less, so you can close the gates up to some limit. So the proper and the right amount of water will be entered into the canal. So these structures are called the canal regulators. Okay, canal intake works. These are also a type of divergent structures. Here you can see that this structure, what this structure is doing here. Okay, so we can say that intake structures are used for collecting water from the surface source. Okay, see, this source is just collecting the water from his surrounding and directing that water into the water course. Okay, for example, if you just not install, this is just a wood planks, if you just not installed it here, so there may be the possibility that the water may be overflow at this direction. Okay, so it is just directing, it is just collecting the water and directing it into the, so this is considered as a intake work. Okay, so intake structure are used for collecting water from the surface sources such as river, lake and reservoir and conveying it further to the for example, if you are performing some treatment, so then that water will be conveyed into the treatment plant and after that it will be discharged into the canals. Okay, these structures are masonry or concrete structures, or sometimes they are constructed just from the wood planks. Okay, and remember, suppose if you have a river and here you are taking a canal, and for example here you just construct such type of structure which can collect the water from the river and diverting it into the canal, it will be called the river intake. Okay, and for example if you have a reservoir and here you are taking a canal, okay, so for example here you just construct such a structure which is collecting the water from the reservoir and entering it into the canal, then it will be called the reservoir intake. Okay, and sometimes we have the main canal, then we are taking the sub main canal. Okay, so if here you construct such structures which collect the water from the main canal into the sub main canal, then it will be called the canal intake. Okay, so based on the resource of water from which you are collecting the water, either it will be lake intake or reservoir intake, or it will be river intake, or it will be we can say that canal intake. Okay, see barrage, that is also, as we are discussing the divergent structures. See, generally if you have a general river natural flow path and suppose you are constructing a canal, so here you will have to construct a weir or dam or barrage. Okay, remember, just the construction is different, the purpose of all these structures are same. What is the main purpose? Just we have to construct a barrier which just raise the water level at the upstream side. Okay, so we have to just construct that barrier. So now based on that construction difference, based on that we can say that that structure, if for example if the flow of water is completely stopped, okay, if the flow of water is completely controlled and stopped, then this structure will be called dam. And for example if a barrier is constructed in which the upstream level is raised and the extra water is overflowing on this structure, then it is called barrier. Okay, and see, for example if a barrier is constructed and gates are installed with it, then the upstream level will be controlled by opening and closing that gates, so then it is called barrage. Okay, so here you can see that suppose if there is a natural stream level, so here we have constructed a barrage which consists of a number of gates. The upstream level of the water has been raised, so here you can see that a canal has been extracted from that natural river. Okay, and you can see that the bed level of the natural stream is lower than the canal level, so we have to raise the water level at the upstream side. And here you can see this structure, that is called the canal regulator, which is controlling the entry of water into the canal. Okay, which is also preventing the silt entry into the canal. So this one will be the canal regulator structure. This is the divergent structure. Okay, so barrage is just a type of low head divergent dam which consists of a number of large gates that can be opened or closed to control the amount of water passing through. Okay, this allows the structure to regulate and stabilize. Okay, yeah, we can say that barrage is just a modern type of a weir. Okay, see, in Pakistan mostly if you people have observed or remember, if you will remember these two barrages, the Ghazi Barota barrage and the Sakkar barrage. Remember, these two barrages are constructed on the Indus River. Okay, and also see, barrage, the main purpose of these structures are just to raise the level of water at the upstream side. Okay, so now when you just construct a barrier, so obviously the water level at the upstream side will be raised. Now that will be used for different purposes. Also we can take out a canal either at this side or this side. We can take out an irrigation canal or navigation canal or for any other purposes. Also when the water level is raised, so we can say that the head of the water will be increased. Okay, so then that head of water can be utilized for the generation of electricity. Okay, so Ghazi Barota barrage is under the water department, and remember, if such structure is constructed, if barrage is constructed just for the raising of water and taking out of the canal, then it will be under the irrigation department. Okay, so Ghazi Barota barrage is under the water department because it is also used for the generation of electricity. Okay, the construction of the Ghazi Barota barrage was from 1999 to 2002. That was its construction period, and the cost of this project was 2.1 billion US dollar. Okay, and also remember that the power generation capacity, the electric capacity of Ghazi Barota barrage is 1450 megawatt. That is its generation capacity. Okay, and annually 7.07 billion units are generated from this Ghazi Barota barrage. Okay, so this is also a type of huge power generation. Okay, and see the water level which is raised at the upstream side at this Ghazi Barota barrage, it is up to 50 meter. So if the water level is raised up to 50 meter, then it can be used for the power generation purposes. Okay, Sakar barrage, that is also one of the barrier constructed on the Indus River, and remember, this is one of the oldest one. In 1923 to 1932, that was its construction period, 1932. Okay, but later on 2004 it was reconstructed. It was not reconstructed, but it was rehabilitated. Okay, and see, for example, if you have a natural river and you just construct here a barrier, either a dam or weir or barrage, and you just take out a canal from it, okay, either to one side or to both sides. Suppose you take out the canals. Now these two canals will irrigate some area. Okay, so this whole system is called an irrigation network. Okay, this is one irrigation network. So similarly, the Sakar barrage, see, you can see that the canals which is taking the water from this Sakar barrage, the length of that canals are 9,923 kilometer. We can say that this much length of the canals are transporting the water. Yeah, this much length of the canals are taking the water. Okay, so this is one of the largest single irrigation network in the world. Okay, one of the largest single irrigation network. So these are the divergent structures. Now here you can see that we have the cross drainage works. Okay, so from the name it is clear that a structure which is constructed when there is a crossing of canal and natural drain. Okay, so to prevent the drain water from mixing into the canal, we have to construct the cross drainage work. Okay, as we have already discussed in the different types of the canal chapter, that suppose we have the ridge canal, we have the contour canal, and we have the side slope canal. So see, for example, if we construct a contour canal which is along the contour, which is across the slope. Okay, now as we know that, for example, if here the rainfall is occurring or precipitation is occurring, then the natural drain which is generating from this precipitation, it will cross the canal at 90 degree. It will intersect with it at 90 degree. So how we will pass these two water bodies without mixing with each other? Okay, so any structure which is constructed when there is a crossing of canal and natural drain, so to prevent the drain from mixing with the canal water, because maybe that the drain water quality will be not sufficient for the irrigation purposes, we can say that there will be some impurities, so then the mixing of these two water will be these two water body will be avoided. Okay, so we will have to safely pass the canal over or under this natural drain, so then it is called the cross drainage works. Okay, so see, aqueduct is one of the cross drainage works. See, for example, if this is a natural stream, okay, if this is a natural drain, and for example this is the canal. Okay, see, the canal will be for any purposes, but here we are just considering the canal for the irrigation purposes. So for example, up to here you transported the water. Now you have to pass this water over this natural drain. So this structure is called the aqueduct. Okay, here you can also see that this is a type of canal. For example, this is another water body. Okay, it may not be necessary that it will be just a natural natural drain. It may be the crosses between the two canals, between the road and canal, between the canal and natural stream or natural river or natural drain. Okay, so for example, this is the canal and then this is another body, so we have to cross these two without mixing. So this structure is called the aqueduct. Yeah, simply we can say that aqueduct is a structure that is a water course, that is a pipe, that is a ditch line, that is canal, yeah, that is a tunnel, okay, which is carrying the water from one point to another point. Now we are interested just to transport the water from this one point into another point. Okay, we have to safely transfer this water from one point to another point without mixing with this natural drain. So this waterway, this water course, this pipe, this ditch, this canal, this tunnel is called the aqueduct. Okay, see again, here we have a natural stream. Okay, we have a natural water body, and here we have a canal. Okay, so it is properly passed. Now remember, this passage is depend on two terminologies. Okay, the maximum flow level of the drain, yeah, we can say that the flood supply level or the full supply level of the natural drain and the bed level of the canal. So here you can see that the full supply level of the natural drain is lower than or less than the bed level of the canal. Okay, so it will be passed over the we can say the natural drain. Okay, and second one is the siphon. So siphon is just a tube which is conveying water upward from a reservoir and then downward to a lower level. Okay, for example, if we have, see, for example, if this is a natural drain, okay, and suppose this is the canal which is carrying your required water. Okay, so see, if this water is passed upward, okay, passed upward, yeah, over the canal, so first the water will be raised and then it will be dropped into the downstream side of the irrigation canal. So see, this fall or this drop is greater than this rise. So this phenomena is called the siphon phenomena. Okay, or for example, if you people remember that in the different types of the irrigation methods, we have discussed the furrow irrigation. Okay, in the surface irrigation systems or in the surface irrigation methods, one of the type was the furrow irrigation. So if you remember or if you recall that first or second lecture, okay, so for example, if this is the feed channel, so from the feed channel there was installed a pipelines into each and individual furrows. Okay, so that pipelines were just taking the water from the main ditch and were dropping into each and individual furrow. So that pipe or that tube is called the siphon. Okay, so similarly, if there is a natural drain or natural stream and here you have the canal, so it will be passed over the canal like in this structure. Okay, the water will be raised and then it will be dropped. Okay, we have the super passage. Okay, siphon super just siphon or siphon super passage. So as we have discussed that these passages are depend on the full supply level of one flowing structure and the bed level of another flowing structure. Okay, so a hydraulic structure in which the drainage flow passes over the irrigation canal. Okay, for example, if that is the irrigation canal and here is the drainage flow, so for example, the bed level of the drainage flow is above from the full supply level of the irrigation canal, then the drainage flow will be passed over the irrigation canal. So this structure is called the super passage. Okay, and the structure is suitable when the bed level of drainage is above the flood surface level of the canal and the water of the canal will be passed clearly below the drainage. Okay, the canal water will be passed below the drainage. That is called the super passage. Okay, second one, we have the canal siphon. Okay, so that is, see, when the bed level of the canal is above from the full supply level of the natural drain, then the canal will be passed over the drain. Then it is called the canal siphon. Okay, the hydraulic structure in which the irrigation canal is passing over the drainage, but the drainage water cannot pass clearly below the canal is known as just the siphon aqueduct. Okay, if two canals cross other and one of the canal is siphoned under the other. Okay, see, mean if there is not too much, remember the difference between the super passage and the canal siphon. Super passage is when the drain water is passed clearly over the irrigation canal. Okay, if the full supply level of the canal is below from the bed level of drainage flow, then the drainage flow will be clearly passed from the canal. It is called the super passage. Okay, and for example, if there is not clear difference between the full supply level of canal or drain and the bed level of canal or drain, then one of them will be siphoned. See, for example, if that is the canal, okay, and here suppose you have the natural stream or the natural drain, then it will be siphoned. Siphon means that first you will have to provide a drop and then you will have to provide rise below this structure. Okay, so the water will be first dropped down and then it will be raised into its original structure. So that is called the we can say the canal siphon. Okay, the level crossing. See, for example, if that is the irrigation canal and this one is suppose the drainage flow. Now see, for example, if both are at the same level and for example the water quality is same, then the canal water and the drain water are allowed to mix with each other. Then some part of that water will be allowed in the drainage canal, natural drainage flow, and some part of that water will be then allowed in the irrigation canal. Then this is called the level crossing. Okay, when the bed level of canal and the stream are approximately the same and quality of water in canal and stream is not much different, then the cross drainage work is constructed is called the level crossing, where water of canal and stream is allowed to mix with each other. Okay, third type of the hydraulic structures are the flow control structures. So again, from the name it is clear that to maintain a specific flow rate, no matter how the pressure varies throughout the supply lines. Okay, a flow control structure just a device that alters the flow of water in a stream, drainage or channel. As we have just discussed in the starting of this lecture, that suppose you have the natural river, so here we have to construct a barrier or divergence structures, and here we will take a canal. Okay, so at this head point, at this starting point, we will construct some regulating structure, some controlling structure, okay, which is maintaining the discharge in the canal. Okay, for example, how much water is required, so according to that requirement the gates will be opened. So that will be flow control structure. Okay, for example, if flood is occurring in the natural river, then you will have to open the gate up to the maximum level, up to that level which allow the discharge up to the maximum carrying capacity of the canal. Okay, so these structure are just regulating the quantity of water and pass excess flow. Okay, so see, gates is one of the example. Remember the difference between the gate of the flow control structure and the gates of the we can say the gates of the barrage. Okay, what is the function of the gates of the barrage? It is just raising the level of the water at the upstream side. Okay, and what is the function of the flow control structures? They are just controlling, they are just maintaining the amount of discharge entering into the canal. Okay, see, this is the we can say this is the cross-sectional view of these gates. Here you can see that it is a type of parabolic shapes. Okay, it is a type of semicircular shape. Okay, so it is a type of arc. So if you are opening it, then the water passed under the gates will be increasing. Okay, and if you completely close these gates, then the flow entry will be stopped. Okay, see, spillways are also the flow control structures, because actually what they are doing, see, if you have a natural stream or a natural river, and suppose you have constructed a barrier, for example, if you have constructed a complete barrier or a complete dam structure, then the water level will be allowed to stored up to some maximum limit. Okay, the extra water will be safely disposed of into the downstream area. Okay, so see, some such type of structure will be constructed so that the extra water beyond the maximum limit which you are allowing to store there, so that they may be properly disposed up into the downstream area, into the original bed of the river. Okay, see, if that is the river, so that is its slopes. So here we have constructed the barrier, here we have constructed the dam. The water level will be allowed to raised up to this limit, and when the water level is raised up to this limit, then the extra water that will be disposed up. So that is called the spillway, which is spillway is just a structure which is used to provide the controlled release of flow from a dam into the downstream area. Okay, typically the river bed, again, that is the original river bed. Okay, the river bed, the slope of this longitudinal slope will be same. Okay, so that is also called the overflow channels. Okay, spillways ensure that the water does not overflow and damage or destroy the dam. For example, if these structures are not constructed, and when the water level raised up to the maximum limit, then the water will overflow on the structure. So there may be possibility that the structure may be damaged. Okay, so these overflow structures are constructed for the safely disposed of the extra water. These are called the auxiliary spillways. So auxiliary spillways or the secondary spillways, or these are called the emergency spillways. Okay, these are any secondary spillways which may be operated during the suppose during the emergency times. Suppose if the main spillways, the primary spillways, suppose if some damages occurred there, or for example some construction is in progress in the main spillways, and for example the water level is raised up to the maximum limit, then it will be disposed up in auxiliary spillways. And also during the flood time, okay, during the flood time, the extra water beyond the maximum limit may not be properly disposed up by the primary spillways, then the auxiliary spillways are operated. Okay, so these are also called the emergency spillways. Okay, siphon spillways, this is also one of the type of safe or controlled dispose of the extra amount of water. For example, this is the river. Here you have constructed a barrier or a dam structure. When the water level is raised up to the maximum limit, and for example if it is disposed up over the structure or overflow channel, through overflow channel, then it is called just the spillways. And for example, if inside this barrier, for example if a tube or conduit type is constructed and the water is discharged in this manner, then it is called the siphon spillway. Okay, a siphon is essentially a short discharge conduit, okay, located above the hydraulic grade line. Okay, there is some hydraulic grade line and this structure is located above that one. So the existence of this sub-atmospheric pressure allow to be sucked up. See, there is just atmospheric pressure and there is sub-atmospheric pressure. So due to this heavy pressure, the amount of water will be sucked up and then it will be disposed down. Okay, and sometimes that is also used for the rotation of the turbines because it has some high pressure. Okay, irrigation outlets. Okay, see, for example, if that is the natural river, okay, if that is the natural river, suppose here you have the main canal, then you have the sub main canal, then you have the distributary. Now after the distributary, we have the field channel, or we have the field water courses. Okay, so these water courses are just transporting the water into the agricultural land or into the agricultural field. Okay, now see, these main canals or sub main canals are up to the end of distributary. these are the state property. This is the property under the irrigation department. This is the government property. This is the public property. This is the state owned property. And beyond this point, that is a private property. Okay, the government has to transport the water from this first point and to the end of the distributary. Now from this end of the distributary, it is the responsibility of the farmer, it is the responsibility of the cultivator to carry the water into its point of utilization. Okay, irrespective of their location. Okay, whatever the location is, and how he is transporting the water, how he is applying the water, how he is distributing the water, the state responsibility is just the transportation of water from this one point to 2 point. Now this point at which the structure which is conveying the irrigation water from the state owned distributary to the private owned distributary, this point is called what? This is called the outlet. Okay, hydraulic structure conveying the irrigation water from a state owned distributary to a privately owned water course. Okay, outlet is provided to have an equitable distribution of water to the cultivators. Okay, so see, generally we can say that generally this is the inlet point of the main canal, this is the inlet point of the sub-main canal, but outlet from main canal. This is the inlet point of the distributary, but outlet from sub-main canal. But in irrigation we are just considering the outlet, that point where the water is entered from the state owned canal into the private canal. Okay. And now you can see that suppose the head of water at the distributary is H1, and suppose the head of the water at the water course will be H2. Okay, now if the discharge, the amount of water, if the quantification of water is depend on the difference between these two head level, then that outlet is called non-modular outlet. Okay, and if the discharge is only depend on the head of the distributary, then it is called semi-modular outlet. And if the discharge is not depend, if the discharge is independent, if the discharge is not depend on the difference between the heads of the distributary and head of the water course, then it is called rigid outlet, or it is called modular outlet. Okay, so this Gibbs module is one of the example of the modular outlet. Okay, fall. Again you can see fall or drop is an irrigation hydraulic structure which is constructed across a canal to lower down its bed level or to maintain the designated slope when there is a change of ground level. Okay, so to maintain the designated slope when there is a change of ground level, this falling water structure will be constructed, or it is called the drop structure. See, suppose if you are constructing a canal, so you will have some constant designed slope, and for example if there is abrupt changes is occurring, okay, if there is accidentally drop in this slope, so then you will have to provide this drop structure, and then you will continue, you will have to continue your canal according to your slope. Okay, so this structure, this drop structure, that is called the fall structure. Okay, that is just constructed to lower down its bed level if there is sudden changes occurring. See, if you are just continuing your canal in that slope, in that level, so see this whole area will be filled up, and the canal will be occurred too much above from the ground level. Okay, so we have to follow the surface condition. So if there is major irregularities in the slope, there is major drop down in the slopes, so we will have to construct the canal up to that level, then we will provide a fall structure, and then we will continue the irrigation canal. Okay, so this structure is called the fall structure. Okay, storage structure. So again, from the name it is clear that any hydraulic structure which is used just for the storage of water. Okay, so storage reservoirs can provide a consistent supply of irrigation water. See, if the rivers are not perennial, okay, see, if throughout the year the water is not available in the river, then we have to construct a permanent and strong barrier so that the water flow may be completely stopped. Okay, so that water will be stored and then it will be supplied into the agricultural land for the irrigation purposes in off season. So storage reservoirs are providing the consistent supply of the irrigation water, provide storage of farms water. Okay, so here this is also a type of storage tank. These are called the overhead tanks, but it is of a smaller scale. Okay, it can be used for domestic or industrial purposes, and this is a large scale storing reservoir which is called the dam. Remember, if the natural flow in the river or stream are completely stopped, then it is called the dam. Okay, dam is just this barrier that stop or restrict the flow of water. Okay, if you have just a stream or a river and you just construct a barrier which stop the flow of water, it will be called the dam. Okay, see, this is one of the dam, Mica Dam in Canada. Okay, it has 240-meter height. Okay, mean it is raising the water level up to 240 meter. Okay, it was opened, it was its operation was started in 1973. Okay, and its annual power generation capacity is 7,200 gigawatt hour. Okay, this much is its capacity, power generation capacity. Okay, here you can see that, see the line which I am drawing, this is that spillway. Okay, this is the spillway. Clear? Here you can also take a canal for the irrigation purposes, or at this level you can take out the canal for the irrigation purposes. Okay, flow measurement. These also some hydraulic structures will be required for the measurement of the irrigation water at a specific point. See, suppose if that is the irrigation canal, and at a specific point, if you are interested to find out the quantity of water passing from this point, that for example in 1 second how much water is passing from this point, so this quantification or this measurement, this is called the flow measurement. So this is one of the important parameter which is performed for the monitoring or for the measurement of water in the irrigation canal. Okay, so the process of measuring of fluid at a specific point, we have to find out the quantity passed in unit of time. So see, we have different methods. One is called the mass-based method. Okay, mass-based method, that how much kilogram of water is passing from specific point in 1 second. Secondly, we have the volume-based method. Okay, that see how much cubic meter of water is passing in 1 second. And third one, we have the weight-based method. Okay, that how much Newton of fluid or water is passing in 1 second. Okay, mass base, volume base, or weight base. So we are just taking the volume base method. Okay, cubic meter of water passing in 1 second, or liter of water passing in 1 second. Okay, this will be taken when the water is considered as a incompressible. Remember, in reality the fluid or water are compressible, but for simplicity we are assuming that the water is incompressible. Okay, so those structures which are used for the determination of discharge are called the flow measuring hydraulic structures. So we have the weir, the orifices, and the flumes. Here you can also say this, see that these notches, okay, these are used for the flow measurement. See, the discharge through notches are equal to CD, coefficient of discharge, 18 divided by 15 under root 2g tangent theta by 2 multiplied by h 5 by 2. Okay, here you can see that suppose that is the corner point. So from the bottom to this corner point, suppose that is h1. Okay, and when the water is allowed to flow over this structure, suppose the height of water from the bottom, suppose that is h2. Now the difference between these two heights, this is called the h. Okay, so this will be practically observed. Okay, this will be practically observed. And the CD, that is the coefficient of discharge, and it will be determined in laboratory. Okay, it will be determined in laboratory, or it will be calibrated in laboratory. That is called the ratio of the actual discharge and to the theoretical discharge. Okay, G is gravitational constant, theta is the is this angle. Okay, and H is the difference between H1 and H2. So the discharge will be determined. Also, you can see the flume. This is a hydraulic structure which is constructed in the canal or in the water course for the measurement of discharge. Q is equal to K H to the power N. Okay, where K is the, we can say that K is the flume discharge constant. Okay, it will be different for different sizes of the flume. N is the discharge component. Again, that is dimensionless and depend on the flume size. Okay, H is the height of the water at the throat point where you are interested to measuring the we can say that where you are interested to measuring the amount of water. Okay, so at this point you will install this flume at the canal or in the water course, and you will just measure the height of water at this throat, and these values of K and N will be determined experimentally. And when you just put the values in this equation, so you will get the discharge which is passing through this flume. Okay, also we have these orifices. Okay, it is a type of just see, suppose if that is a closed pipe and here you install this orifice. I hope you may have seen it in the Bernoulli apparatus. Okay, so when the water is passing from this throat, so here we have one area, here we have another area, so pressure drop will be occurred. So based on that principle, the discharge is measured. Okay, so these orifices, flumes and notches, these are the flow measuring hydraulic structures. Okay, which is used for the measurement, for the we can say that for the monitoring of the flow in the irrigation canal. Okay, the conveyance structure. So already you people are familiar from this thing. The any structure which is used for the transportation, for the carrying or for the conveyance of the water, that will be called the conveyance structures. Okay, so see the canal which we have discussed, that is one of the main conveyance structure. Okay, so that is the type of the open channel. We have two types: open channels or pressurized conduits. Okay, the closed pipes, these are called the pressurized conduits. Pipe which run under pressure, and here only the atmospheric pressure will be exerted. These are called the open channels. Okay, so these are guiding the flow from one location into another location. They are actually transporting the water from one point into another point. Okay, second one, most importantly, the hydraulic structure, these are the energy dissipator. Okay, yeah, the energy dissipation, that is the act, yeah, that is the process, that is the act of transforming mechanical energy of downward flowing water into thermal or acoustical energy. Okay, it is important to reduce the erosion downstream of the structure. Okay, remember, suppose if we have a steep slopes or the velocity of the water is too much high, so it will have high mechanical energy. So due to this energy, the downstream area may be eroded, or the structures may be damaged. Okay, or the structure may be damaged. So see, we have to break out this energy, we have to dissipate this energy, so that the structure, so that the downstream of the canal may be so that the downstream portion of the area may be avoided from the erosion. Okay, so here we will have to construct such type of structure which convert this mechanical energy into some other form of energy, so that to dissipate this energy. So see, for example, if the horizontal space is available, and see, suppose this is the top view of the canal, and here you can construct such type of basin. Okay, if you construct such type of basin, then suppose the pressurized water is coming here, so it will stop here for some time. Okay, and the velocity will be reduced, and then that water will be discharged into the downstream area of the canal. Okay, so due to this stopping water in this stilling basin, the energy will be reduced. Okay, or also you can see that, for example, if this is the canal, this is this is the side view, this one is the top view. Okay, this is the side view. You can for example, if you construct such type of depression here, if you construct a depression, so the water will come into this depression, it will stored here for some time, and the energy will be lost, and then it will be outed in the downstream area, the downstream canal. Okay, so these are called the stilling basin, or these are called the still box. Okay, these are the depression in a channel to reduce the velocity or turbulences of the flow. These are also called the still box. Or also you can see that if proper space is suppose not available, then such type of Bepal block will be constructed. Okay, suppose if you have a canal, so here you can construct these blocks. Okay, so if the pressurized flow or the high velocity flow is coming, so it will hit these blocks, and the we can say that the energy will be lost, or the energy will be dissipated. Also, other forms of these energy dissipator are, suppose you have a closed pipeline, conduit line. Okay, the velocity is too much high, so at the outlet point, if the pressurized water is outing, so it will cause the erosion. So here we are constructing such type of the surge tanks. Okay, so the high energy water is coming, and it will be raised in this surge water, and the energy will be lost due to the rising of this head, and then this water is properly outed from the surge tank. Okay, these are called the surge tank. Okay, a storage type reservoir. Okay, the water will come here and will be stored at the downstream area, so it will absorb the certain rise of pressure, as well as to quickly provide extra water during a brief drop in the pressure. Okay, and also the check dam. These are the small dam constructed across the drainage or canal, across the canal. See, if you have a canal or a general drainage, and suppose you have to dissipate the energy, so here just you will construct a check dam. Okay, either from sandbags or from stones, so the water will come into this check dam, and it will be allowed for the we can say that it will be allowed for the for some time to rest in that area, and that will then it will be allowed into the downstream canal, or into the downstream portion of the drainage. Okay, so that is just a small dam constructed across a drainage ditch or channel to lower the velocity of flow. Okay, reduced runoff velocity, reduce the erosion. Okay, so that energy will be dissipated. Or also you can construct a, for example, if the energy is due to the steep slopes, so then these type of stepwise falls will be constructed. Okay, remember the difference between the energy dissipations and the fall are just constructed to break out the elevation changes. Okay, and energy dissipators are constructed to dissipate the energy, okay, and prevent the structure from the damaging and erosion. Clear? Next, hydraulic structures. Sometimes these structures are constructed for the shore protection purposes. Okay, to reduce or eliminate the damage of the shore and the backland, as might be caused by flooding or wave attacks and erosion. See, if you have the irrigation canal, okay, and suppose the water is flowing in it, so there will be the waves which will be striking the banks of the area. This is called the agricultural land, or this is called the backland. So due to these waves, the area may be affected. So to protect this area, we have to properly construct the banks, or we have to properly construct some hydraulic structure, so that the damage of this area may be reduced or eliminated. Okay, the protection of their banks. So the first one is the dikes. Okay, so actually our measurement, our basic aim is the protection or preservation or restoration of the shore and the coastal landscape area or the nearby area. Okay, so see, the first structures are the first structure which is used for the we can say that for the shore protection. These are the dikes. Okay, see, such type of just walls are constructed from the stones. Okay, so see, if the river waves are coming, so it will strike with these walls or with these dry dikes, and its impacts will be reduced. Its impacts will be we can say that eliminated. Okay, so these dikes are just wall, these are barrier, or it is a type of dam or a type of levee, a type of embankment, okay, which is just stopping the impact of the wave water. Okay, of the suppose if waves are coming into the side, so see, if that is vertical, so its impact will be more as compared to this sliding wind. Okay, so these are dikes. Second one, the groins. Here you can see, okay, for example, if this is the landscape area, suppose if this is the recreational area, for example, if this is the beach area, so again then it will be protected from the flowing current of water. Okay, or then it will be protected from the sediments which is occurring in the water. Okay, or it will be we can say that it will be protected from the waves of the river water. So such type of structure are constructed. These are called the groin. Okay, these are the man-made structure designed to trap the sand as it is moved down to beach. Okay, suppose if there is sand, then it will be moved into the beach, so to trap that sand, to break the current of the flowing water, such structures are constructed. These are called the groin. Okay, groin is just a rigid hydraulic structure built from an ocean shore, okay, or from the bank, that interrupt the water flow and limit the movement of sediment. It is usually made out of wood or concrete or stone. Okay, revetments. So again, that is a type of we can say that retaining wall or facing of masonry. Okay, you can see that a masonry structures are constructed, okay, or from other material which is protecting or supporting the nearby area. Okay, that is a type of barricade of earth or sandbags set up to provide protection from the blast or from the waves of the water which is occurring. Okay, so it is preventing the nearby area. These are called the revetments. Similarly, the jetties. Okay, so jetties is a long narrow structure. See, a long narrow structures that protects a coastline from the currents or tides. See, suppose if the banks of the water body is shallow, and for example the ships or cruise cannot be parked here. Okay, so when it is coming into the side, then its heavy waves may damage the nearby area. So we have to construct a pathway into the deep water or into the center of water body. Then there will be no need of the ship coming into the near to the banks, so this area will be protected. Okay, so these narrow or long walkways into the center of the water bodies, these are called the we can say that these are called the jetties. Okay, a jetty is just a structure that project from the land out into the water body. Okay, jetty refers to a walkway accessing the center of an enclosed water body. Jetty can also be used to connect the land with deep water further away from the shore for the purpose of docking ships and unloading different cargo and different planes. Okay, so these are the different hydraulic structures which we have discussed: the divergence structures, the cross drainage structures, the flow control structures, okay, the storage structures, the flow measurement structures, okay, the shore protection structures, the energy dissipation structures. So these are the supplementary structures, these are the secondary structures which will be constructed in any irrigation project. Okay, and these structures will be used for the proper direction and proper controlling, monitoring and regulation of the irrigation water. Okay.